Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's Keshwani, Keshwani. I have been solving math problems for GRE out of this book here, practicing to take the GRE general test, the 10th edition. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it in order to prepare for the exam. The problem that I'm about to solve is the one that you're going to find on page number 376, quantitative comparison question, number 14. Number 14, the penultimate question. For those of you who have watched me do number 14 in other sections, you probably know this word by heart now. It just means second to the last, penultimate. Second to the last because there are only 15 quantitative comparison questions here. Let's take a look at it. They tell you that the product of R and T is positive. And then they give us 3 over R plus 4 over T versus 3T plus 4R, R plus T. Don't worry about the fact that I mix up the small letters with the capital letters. It really doesn't do any harm. Because there are no other R's and there are no other T's, so it doesn't really make any difference. So what are we going to do? Well, the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the very first thing to do here is for us to find the common denominator here so that we can put both of these quantities together, because that's what we have here. So let's put this down as R times T, and then R times T divided by R gives us T, so we end up with 3T. And R times T divided by T, we end up with R, so we end up with 4R. And here we have 3T's plus 4R. Well, what do we do next? Well, let's take a look at it. Which quantity is bigger? Tell me. 10 over 5 or 10 over 2? You could actually leave the way it is and say that 10 over 5 is 2 and 10 over 2 is 5 and therefore this is bigger, or you could say to yourself that this 10 plays no role because the 10 appears in the numerator in both cases. It plays no role. So basically what we are being asked to compare is which one is bigger, 1/5 or 1/2, and of course 1/5 and 1/5 is smaller than 1/2, same as before. 10 over 5 was 2. And what is it that allows us to do that? Because if you were to divide this quantity by 10, this 10 drops out. And if I divide this quantity by 10 in this column, then I have to divide the quantity in this column by 10. And I end up with 1 over 5 versus 1 over 2. That's exactly what this thing here. This numerator is same as this numerator. So we can drop it, cancel it. It drops out. It plays no role. And what we are left with is 1 over RT versus 1 over R plus T. Now what we're going to do is cross multiply, and I'm going to show you that you can do that also. Watch here. 10 over 20 over 5 versus 8 over 2. But we know answer in this case is C, isn't it? 20 over 5 is 4 and 8 over 2 is 4 also. The answer is C here. Answer is C. Let's see what happens if I were to cross multiply. If you were to cross multiply, you get 5 times 8, which is 40. And then 2 times 20, which is also 40. You see, again the answer is equal. You can do that. If you have a fraction in one column and if you have a fraction in the other column, it's okay to cross multiply like this. Just as I said, it's not going to change the answer as I just showed you here. So that's what I'm going to do here. So we end up with R plus T versus R times T. Alright? So again, keep in mind, this is our column A and this is our column B. I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to pick this up over here. R plus T versus R times T. Now R times T we already know is positive. We are told that it's positive. So this quantity we know is positive. Now the question is, what about R plus T? That's where we have to slow down and take our time, which is what makes this question number 14. It's number 14. Only 39% of people who took the exam got it right. Almost a little more than 3/5 of the people got it wrong. Let's talk about it. If if we have two quantity r times t, if r times t is positive, which is what we're told here, that implies that either both r and t are positive, either both r and t are positive, because you see positive times positive will give us positive, or either both r and t are positive, or both r and t are negative. Those are the two possibilities, because if r is negative times a negative times negative is positive, you see? So if you tell me that if you come up to me and tell me that you're holding two numbers, if you come up to me and tell me that you're holding two numbers in your two hands, you have got a number in your right hand side which you're not showing me, and you got a number in your left hand side and you're not showing me, but you tell me that when you multiply them, you get a positive quantity, what I infer from that, what I conclude from that, what I surmise from that is that these two numbers, whatever they are, either they are both positive, because positive times positive will give me the product of positive, or they would both have to be negative. A negative times negative will give me positive. That's what we're saying here. One more time. If r times t is positive, that implies that either both r and t are positive, like I showed you here, positive and positive times positive is positive, or both r and t are negative. Those are the only two possibilities. So what we just found out is that r plus t, either they are both positive, in which case it is positive, or negative. The negative part is right here. Because if they are both if both r and t are negative, their sum would have to be negative. If the r is negative and t is negative, if r is negative and t is negative, when you add them up, you get a negative number. If r is positive and t is positive, when you add them up, you get a positive number. So their sum is either positive, which is this case here, or negative, which is this case here. But this guy, we know is positive. So you're asking, what we are being asked here is to compare a positive quantity versus some other quantity which is either positive or negative. Well, if it's either positive or negative, and this is positive all the time, then how the hell do I know which one is bigger? They could be both equal. If this is positive and this is positive, they could be both equal. Or if this is positive and this is positive, this could be bigger or that could be bigger. So if they are both, if this is positive and this is positive, and if they are both equal, if they happen to be both equal to each other, like 2 times 2 versus and 2 plus 2, that's possible. 2 times 2 versus 2 plus 2, they are both positive and they are both equal to each other, in which case the answer would be C. Or maybe their sum is bigger than their product, and the answer would be A, which is also possible. Sum could be more than the product if they are fractions. If half and half plus half is 1, but half times half is a quarter. So their sum may be more, they are both positive, but they are fractions, therefore their sum may be more than their product, in which case the answer would be A. Or maybe their product is more than their sum, the answer would be B. Or you get the idea. Or maybe they are negative, in which case this guy is positive, this guy is negative, the answer would that could be B. So answer could be anything, it could be A or B or C. So therefore the answer is D. That's it. I'm going to quickly here. Well, I'm not going to write everything down. I already explained to you here. If they are both positive, there is a possibility that they both might be equal to each other. Well, I gave you the example of 2 plus 2 versus 2 times 2. 2 plus 2 versus 2 times 2. I'm doing it here, plus right here. 2 plus 2 versus 2 times 2, in which case the answer is C. Or maybe we have half plus half. They're both positive, you see they're both positive, and half times half. Half times half is 1/4. This is less than this, the answer in this case is A. Or maybe it is 2 plus 3 versus 2 times 3, in which case the answer is B. And we haven't even talked about the fact that it can also be negative. So if r plus t is negative, for example, -2 plus -3, -2 plus -3 is -5, and here would be -2 times -3 would be +6. The answer again would be B. So therefore the answer is D, because we do not know what it is. But I made it far too complicated than it needed to be. All you have to understand is that this quantity is either positive or negative. This quantity is always positive because of the fact that this is either positive or negative, and this is always positive. Therefore, we cannot tell. If this happens to be negative, the answer could be B. If this happens to be positive, answer could be A or could be C. That's all. I hope I didn't make it too complicated for you. I don't mean it that way. I meant unnecessarily, that is. Anyway, I hope you got something out of it. I hope you found it useful, helpful. If you wish to get hold of me for personal private tutoring, face-to-face tutoring, or I also tutor over the internet via Skype, and I also do tutoring over the telephone. If there is anything at all that I can do to help you prepare for the exam, for the GRE or the GMAT, go to my website at www.prep.gre.com or prep4gmat.com. You will get me there also, and send me an email. Or you can also go to www.KeshwaniPrep.com and send me an email from there. Okay? Thank you.